Hello, America. My name is Chris Kilcullen from the middle. Hey, this is our third podcast, and don't give me too much credit there because the first two I did 2 years ago. So this is actually the first one that I've done on my own. Hope I got all these buttons figured out. Podcasting is new to me, but we're gonna make it work. So I wanted to give you three things that we're going to talk about today, kind of a summary. We're going to talk about what the middle is and what it's not. And we're going to talk about some survey results that we've seen from my top three. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I'm going to share with you my top three, just to personalize a little bit. So let's get started. So, the middle is designed to be a platform for you to share the three things that are most important to you, three things that keep you awake at night. And we're going to aggregate all that data and create a top 10 list for our leaders. So I got some notes here. So pardon me, I'm not a professional podcaster, so I'm going to read them. So, when I launched this, I've gotten some feedback of, what are you trying to do here? I want to know who you're voting for before I listen to anything you've got to say. Or I want to know how you feel about this issue because this issue is the most important thing to me. And, we've got some passionate people out there, but that's exactly why I've created the middle. This is not just a one issue country, We've got a lot of issues, just like people. I know some people with issues, and I've got my own. This is designed to create a new platform to communicate your needs to the needs of our elected officials. And then we're going to track that response, how they react to what's important to you. Because honestly, this is my view. I think politicians go out and every 2 years, they tell you what you want to hear. Then they raise a bunch of money to go get elected on the next election cycle 2 years later, or 4 years if you're president. And then they're constantly paying back all the people that elected them, or they're listening to their very small little base, their small little voice, I should say, and not listening to the needs of Americans. And we've lost the art of compromise. And that's what I want to do here. I want you to set your political party aside and identify the three things that you would do if you were the president, okay? What were the three things that you would fix if you were the leader of this nation, the leader of the free world, to fix in this country, okay? This is not going to be a place to bicker. It's not going to be a place to fight. It's not going to be a place to bash other people or their ideas. This is, however, going to be a place for us to brainstorm on all those problems that we face in this nation. And we're going to talk about problems that we're seeing so far. And look for creative ways to solve these problems. We've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. We've elected politicians the same way over and over and over and over since we first formed this country. And we run a democracy. We're run by a democracy, I should say. And I believe our democracy is the greatest governmental system in the world, which is why people come here from all over the world. But how we elect people and how we hold them accountable, that needs to change. And so if you look at what the iPhone did for how we communicate, cell phones, email, the whole worldwide interweb is available at our fingertips. And that wasn't there before iPhone came out. We look at what Netflix has done and how we view and consume movies and TV shows. We look at what Uber has done in transportation. Those three businesses flipped their industries on their head. And then you look at what Tesla has done. I mean, Tesla came out of nowhere and took on these massive conglomerate auto companies. And they are now the #1 auto manufacturer in the country. So the reason I bring those up is because we've got to change how we do things, and or we're going to keep doing the same thing every 2 years. We're going to keep getting frustrated by the elected officials that we have a choice in, and our problems are going to keep getting worse because they're going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. We're not trying to create a third party here. We're trying to bring those parties together to negotiate and to compromise. Now, don't focus on one single issue here, because there are more than one issue. There's an emotional issue out there that everyone wants to talk about. But we've got bigger problems than just one thing. We're not just, our elephants and Democrats are not the enemy here. We've got much greater enemies all around the world, and much greater challenges here. So what I want you to do is understand that there's going to be some issues that you're not going to agree on. I'm not going to agree on. But democracy is about the bulk of Americans coming together and fixing problems for the betterment of this country. So let's see here. Another really important piece is that we're going to level the playing field here. We're going to democratize our democracy. This is not going to be a place where the most influential, financially well-off individual can come in here and control the mic and win results in Washington. This is about every American, every race, every age, every economic background. Every American's voice will get heard here, and we want to hear from you. So let's see here. This is a place where we're going to have very rigorously honest conversations. Many issues out there are very emotional, and we're going to try to set some of that aside. We're going to listen, and that's probably a big chunk of this. Is we are going to listen to the other side of the argument, and then we're going to look for solutions that both sides of an argument can agree on. And as I mentioned a minute ago, there's one hot topic out there that we'll talk about in a second, that we've got very firm beliefs on, but I think that there's things behind an issue that we might be able to have some compromise on. So, I'm going to be 60 this year, and I don't think I'll ever retire, but I'm looking at retirement. And right now, the Social Security Administration is going to run out of money in 13 years. 13 years. That's like right around the corner. Okay. I know what I was doing 20 years ago, and it just happened like that. And our politicians don't like to have those rigorously honest conversations. So we're going to have those conversations here. We're going to tell you the truth and the facts about where we are, about every issue that we're going to talk about, and where our nation is. If you're younger than 65, you were born after 1972, you need to listen up. I should say buckle up, because your taxes are going to go up in order for you to have a retirement. So that's less take-home pay, okay? You will pay higher taxes because the politicians before you didn't do the right thing, okay? This is not the country that I want to leave to my children, and that's one of those issues that we're going to talk about. Our national debt is another one. Today, we have $35 trillion in national debt. So I want you to think about it this way. Let's say you graduated from college, you've got a friend group. One of them gets a brand new credit card in the mail, and they just go out and just, for 3-4 years, they're just spending it like crazy, okay? Just spending money, not paying the credit card, and then 4 years comes up, and they're like, hey guys, I'm out, and you got to pay this credit card for me, okay? I know it's not really your money, not really your debt, and you didn't get to, go to Disney World like I did, but you've got to pay that debt. That is what the national debt is to you, okay? It's also what the Social Security problem is. So all you younger generation, you need to buckle up and listen. And I say that because you're going to have a lot of politicians that are going to be talking in your ear about what they're going to do, these great ideas, these great things. They don't have any money, okay? That's what got us here in the first place. $35 trillion, which I can't even imagine what that looks like. It's a lot. To break that down, we've got roughly 330 million Americans based on the last census. The math is $104,000 per person. That's children to retirees. That's not working Americans. Working Americans owe about $240,000 a year. That's a personal guarantee. And that's kind of like your student debt, where you can't erase it, okay? You can't go bankrupt, you can't wipe it out. That's money that you owe, whether you like it or not. And it's going to come out of stuff that you want, roads, bridges, national security, education, all the things that we're going to talk about in the top 10. We don't have the money for, okay? So just set that aside for a minute. Both parties got us here, okay? So this is not one party's fault. Both parties have been spending money like drunken sailors. And, that's got to get fixed. And we're going to talk about some ideas. So don't let that just totally crush your future, because we'll fix it. We have some of the brightest minds in the world in America, with some of the wealthiest companies in the world. Innovation can solve just about every problem. And in business, generally speaking, grow revenue, reduce expenses. Those are the only two things you have to do. We got to do that right here. We generate $5 trillion a year in taxes, and we spend $7 trillion a year, okay? Bad math. So let's start talking about some of the results that we're seeing in my top 3. So on our current results, I launched this July 4th, so we're still young. I'm going to lean into you in a moment to spread the word here, but the economy and inflation were mentioned more than anything else. That's the biggest issue important to most Americans, okay? I've combined economy and inflation because they both mean the same thing. Economy is how I make money. Inflation is how I spend it and what's left over. So that's number 1, the border and immigration. Number 2, those two topics, same thing. We see it here in Denver, and the influx of immigrants has deteriorated the city's budget, the state's budget, and I'm not going to talk to you about how my view is here. I'm just saying this is an issue that's important to Americans. This country was built on immigrants, and we're going to talk about that when we get to a podcast on that topic, okay? Followed by 2, there was a tie between the wealth gap in America and education. Lots of conversation about education and the wealth gap, and lots of ideas. National debt, I just kind of touched on that a minute ago, but that was another one. In the top 10, again, we want the top 3 from you so we can create a top 10 for our leaders. Sensible gun control, abortion laws, along with several other ideas that were important to Americans. So this is still young. This is a small sample of what we hope to be 300 million Americans views, okay? So for us to get to 330 million Americans on here, roughly, 18 years of age, probably closer to 300, I'm speculating there. We need your help, okay? We need you to follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on X, come to our site. You can find all of our channels, but we need you to subscribe to us so that we can gain some traction here, okay? And then on those social media channels, I need you to share this, okay? This can't just be about me. It won't be anything if it's just about me. This is about you. This is about your needs. This is about your country and your future. This is not just about this election cycle. This is about how we continue to elect people and solve problems moving forward. And so I don't care if you got friends or family that disagree with you, invite them to the middle and tell them that this is a way that we're going to bridge the divide and we're going to solve these problems. We're going to set the emotions aside and we're going to work through these issues one at a time. We're going to bring on thought leaders. We're going to bring on some politicians at some point. But right now, we want to bring everyone together so we can identify what the biggest challenges are. And then we're going to brainstorm on how to fix those problems, okay? It's not going to happen overnight, but neither of these companies that I mentioned earlier went to ground, into gazillionaires overnight. Sorry, I'm going to make some mistakes here, and this is just the beginning. So let me talk through some of the ideas that we've had already. On immigration, one of the top issues. Here's from one of our submissions. I have no solutions, but the number one concern is the influx of immigrants that are wreaking havoc on our country and our communities. I want people to have a legal pathway to citizenship, but it seems like there are too many who just bypass the system. Perhaps we need to look at other countries like New Zealand, who have very specific rules on even how long a visitor can stay. Good idea. Finish the wall and deport millions of Americans that have entered over the last 4 years. That was another submission. Here's another one. We need to establish a reasonable criteria for coming into the country, such as a sponsor, employment, and or a reason for coming across, and perhaps a time limit. We need to establish more larger border crossings to accommodate people and set certain numbers per day. People who violate our immigration policies, this is kind of a good idea, should be put on a list that prohibits them from coming into the U.S. for 5 to 10 years. It's got to be consequences. That's something we've kind of gotten away from. I am all about forgiveness, and we'll talk about that another time, but got to have consequences. Even if we have to send 10,000 troops to the border to secure it, that's a good idea, says one submission. This would put a major dent into the fentanyl pouring into our country across the southern border from China and Mexican cartels. Let's move on to the economy, which was the most important issue for most Americans. Should have started there. I don't have the answers, but this inflation is killing the middle class. Here's another one. Kick some ass at the Fed. Get them to lower interest rates by at least 1% over the next year. Sounds like that's starting to happen. This will stimulate the economy and give companies the confidence to hire new people and allow more people to own their own homes, which after all is the American dream. I read a survey or a study at people that own their own home and people that don't. And the wealth that is generated when somebody owns their own home is massive. So we're going to have a lot of conversations around home ownership and making affordable housing affordable. We'll get into that on its own special specific podcast. The wealth gap. Remove barriers from starting a small business. This is a hot button for me. I've seen that happen. In the hotel business, I've seen people come here from all over the world with nothing but the clothes on their back, work their tails off and create immense wealth. I've got close friends from people from countries all around the world that I'll have on this podcast at some point that are testament to that. How do we create solutions? This is another submission that help give people access and on-roads to prosperity for with lower incomes instead of roadblocks. Let me reread that. How do we create solutions that help give access and on-roads to prosperity for those with lower incomes? Now I get it, sorry. Taking a look at things like accessing credit, lowering bank fees, school funding, often geographical based communities get less money for funding. Another really good solution or idea. Topic just to talk about. See, these ideas are going to stimulate more ideas. And that's the point of the middle. The national debt, we just talked about that. Create a mutual fund. And this is actually an idea that I had. I'm about to read it. We've got Social Security that's just, about to go bankrupt or raise taxes on you. Our national debt is not going down, okay? Our leaders keep layering on more debt. That's got to stop. But imagine what we did if all that money was coming in from Social Security and the federal government's taxes, for that matter, were spent on a mutual fund or an index fund with companies that have chosen to invest voluntarily 2, maybe 3% of their profits every year that would go back into Social Security to stabilize that platform or that Social Security Administration, and then or pay down the debt. Right? We're not making any debt contributions. That's why it keeps growing and growing and growing. Imagine how many American consumers would shop with those companies, would spend money with those companies, and just the amount of money that would be invested in the stock market and how that would impact their stock value. And maybe instead of donating 2% of the profits, we own some stock combination. I'm not an investment banker, so there's a lot of work to be done there, but that idea will hopefully get improved by other people's ideas. And that's what we're trying to do with the middle. So this is what I need from you. I can't do this alone. This is me in my basement, okay? I don't have the budget for this. I don't have the time for this. I don't have the expertise for this. And that's why it sat on its shelf for the last 2 years. But I had to get off the couch and start doing something, start talking about this. So I need you to follow me on all social media channels. I need you to talk about this. I need you to share this with your friends and your family. Buy some t-shirts. Buy a water bottle. I mean, who doesn't need a good water bottle? On the back of the t-shirts and hoodies, we've got our slogan, let's bridge the divide. Pardon me. That's our goal here. We're going to bridge the divide. We're going to fix the problems. We're going to create a better version of America that this world has ever seen. And we're going to create prosperity for more Americans. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. No matter who you vote for this year, give me your top 3 so that we can show every politician that gets elected this November what you want fixed in this country. Thanks so much.